Bucs.
This is a Fire podcast. We are on YouTube, Spotify, and Podbean. If you're new around here, I am your host, Rhett. Joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host, Mr. Bucs Football, Evan. Welcome back to the show. And we're an action-packed episode 50. Streaming live on YouTube right now. Premiere, everyone watching, thank you for coming out. So we've got a really, really good show planned. Right now we are in the midst of a very interesting Buccaneers free agency. You've got mixed opinions all over the board. People have been upset about what this team has done and hasn't done. We recorded an episode 50 right before all these moves happened, and I actually remember titling that episode "Don't Expect Much," because the entire theme of the episode was be patient and don't expect any splash signings, and we didn't exactly get any of those, but we got enough to move things forward, and we got some help that I'm pretty excited about. But let's jump into things. Welcome to episode 50. Like I said before, I am your host, Rhett, joined alongside me as always, my good buddy and co-host, Evan. Evan, how are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. This past week has been fairly frustrating, I'm not going to lie. Not only from a standpoint of, free agency in itself, you see all these deals being made. Nobody expected the Bucs to go in here and make blockbuster deals. If you did, then obviously you weren't paying attention. We knew the Bucs were going to be fairly tight on cap space. You've got a lot of guys you got to move around to free up some cap space. We were able to do that. Couple of those guys freeing up cap space for us were kind of sad to see go. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on them. But first and foremost, Quan Alexander has been shipped off to San Francisco. The time has finally come. I mean, we've said before that Quan was testing out free agency, wanted to look for a better offer than what the Bucs proposed to him. And he found it. He gets a 4-year, $54 million deal with the 49ers. $27 million of that is guaranteed. So he's making $13.5 million a year. Compared to everyone else we lost, I got to say this one probably hurts the most. We knew Hump was leaving. We knew Deshaun Jackson was leaving. And I'll say we were about as prepared as we could be to see Quan go. But now that it's happened, it's one of those things that sucks, but I don't know. At least he doesn't have to re-dye his hair now, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was pretty shocked at the money that Quan Alexander got. I mean,
yeah,
you're talking about a guy coming off of an ACL tear, which is probably one of the worst injuries you can have in the sport of football. And before that, I mean, nobody would think that he's worth $13.5 million, even before that injury, It's just because there has been some inconsistency with his play, right? I know now a lot of people are going to say, oh, now that he's left, now you're going to talk crap about him. No, I'm just telling you the truth, and I would have told you that if the Bucs signed him to the same deal the 49ers did, I would have said it's a bad deal. Go ahead.
Here's something I think we need to realize, too, is you had brought up he's coming off of an ACL injury. That's a lot of money to bring in for a guy, taking a risk after an injury like that. But I don't think he's ever played a full season of football. He had the 1 year where he was suspended after ripping the ball out of Julio Jones's hands. I want to say he got injured that year as well. The year after that, he missed some games because of injury. And then, of course, his last year in Tampa, he missed 75% of the season because of the torn ACL we just talked about. So he's a great player. He's talented. I think he's got a lot of potential. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, but I don't know, man. He's definitely a risk when you're talking about that much money.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Alexander he's played one full season. 2016.
Okay.
2015, he was suspended for PEDs. Um, that was the rookie season. 2016, he played the full year. 2017, he missed about 4 games or so. And obviously, we know 2018, he tore his ACL. So, yeah, it is a big risk. It's a lot of money. And I do agree that he hasn't hit his ceiling yet. However, I don't know how much more room he has to go.
Yeah.
Uh, like, this dude's getting paid like a top 3 linebacker right now. And I know it's essentially almost like a 1 or 2 year deal when you look at like the dead money and stuff. Still a lot of money though.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, I know a lot of people have been complaining. Oh, the Bucs didn't even try. They did. They offered him a fair offer. It was believed to be a long-term deal, about the $10 million range, and the 49ers just blew that one out of the water. And give credit to John Lynch and the 49ers, and I'm happy to see Quan get paid. But yeah, for the Bucs, this was probably the best thing to do because signing him for $13.5 million just because he's a fan favorite and dyes his hair isn't exactly good business.
No, I feel you 100%. And I think the worst part about it too was he was the only guy who left us who didn't say thank you to the Bay. So that's I'm gonna remember that.
I don't know. This is weird to me, and it's also weird that the Bucs haven't said anything about Adam Humphries and Quan Alexander leaving. Like they haven't thanked them either.
Right. I don't know, man. The other guy that we need to talk about, we're going to touch on him just a little bit because, of course, he doesn't play in Tampa anymore. But that's wide receiver Deshaun Jackson. Now, he's also parting ways with the Bucs. It's been a long time coming. We've been calling it since halfway through the season. I think everyone's seen this coming from a mile away. Many outlets had actually believed he'd been released, but it turns out the Bucs were just looking for a trade partner after all this time. We get a 2019 6th-round pick and a 2020 7th-round pick for him. The Bucs were also able to free up $10 million in cap space, so that can help out towards some of the moves they made in free agency. And the last guy we need to touch on is Adam Humphries. He ended up signing a deal with the Tennessee Titans. From what I heard, had second thoughts. The Patriots came back. It was a bidding war between Tennessee and New England pretty much all day for Adam Humphries. Tennessee put up the better offer. Humphries trusted his gut, went with Tennessee. And then I guess the day before he signed, New England threw a couple more deals out there, and he had second thoughts, but he stuck with his instinct, went with Tennessee. So he'll leave the Bay for a spot on the Marcus Mariota-led Tennessee Titans. He gets $9 million a year over 4 years. I hate to say that I'm surprised he didn't crack $10 million, but you never know what that last offer from the Pats could have been. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to make sure I got that out there before I forgot.
Quick correction on the Jackson one.
Okay.
The deal is Deshaun Jackson and a 2020 7th-round pick to Philadelphia for a 2019 6th-round pick.
Oh, gotcha.
They're essentially swap picks.
Okay. I mean, I think we're lucky at all that we got something for him.
Oh, and also, Rhett, who was on the show said a few weeks ago that they had a strange feeling Deshaun Jackson was going to get traded?
Wasn't me.
Yeah. And who else? and okay, so who's the other guy on the show?
We had Keith Tandy on a couple weeks ago, Brent Dowd a few weeks before that. I mean,
I might have got a scoop.
So, yeah, man. Well, let's talk about something else. We'll talk about the free agency moves the Bucs made here in a second, but this is probably the most recent free agency news we have to cover right now. And this might be out of date by the time the show premieres, but running back Isaiah Crowell out of New York, who on the show said something about him maybe a month ago?
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me either, actually, so I don't know who that was. But yeah, some interesting news for you guys following along the Bucs free agency. Isaiah Crowell, the Bucs have emerged to have some interest in him. I know the Bucs were also mixed up in Duke Johnson for a little while. I don't know if they still have interest there. I haven't heard too much developing on that situation. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Bucs wanted to bring in a solid veteran back, a guy like Isaiah Crowell or Duke Johnson. These are guys who aren't super old, but just to mix things up between Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones. So some running backs might be emerging.
Yeah, and I mean, Isaiah Crowell makes a lot of sense. Was with Todd Bowles in New York. And, at the time, because, guys, it was actually Rhett who had mentioned Isaiah Crowell. And I sort of shut it down because at the time, it seemed as if the Bucs were going to be looking for sort of a starting caliber running back. As time went on, Bruce Arians became more and more likable, I guess, or liking of Peyton Barber.
Oh, he's enamored by the guy.
Yeah, I mean.
Speaking of which, we did sign him to a 1-year deal. We didn't talk about that, but just a heads up.
Yep,
everybody.
Yep. One-year deal for Barber. Yep, he's back. So basically, when Red had brought it up, I had pretty much shot it down almost. I was like, yeah, it wouldn't be bad, but I think they're looking at some other guys. But Isaiah Crowell right now with what they're looking for or rumored to be looking for makes a lot of sense. He was with Todd Bowles in New York, so Todd Bowles knows him pretty well. Todd Bowles was on board with signing them last year. He was productive in Cleveland, went to New York, had 6 touchdowns last year. Not as many rushing yards in Cleveland, in New York as he did in Cleveland, but still productive. He didn't have as many carries last year as he did in Cleveland. But the other thing of why it makes sense is comp picks. And I know a lot of people are talking about the comp picks for Adam Humphries and Quan Alexander. And yes, if the Buccaneers stay inactive, rather in free agency, they will get a 3rd-round compository pick for Quan Alexander for losing. This is in the next year's draft, 2020. They will get a 2020 3rd-round compository pick for losing Quan Alexander, and projected to be a 4th-round 2020 compository pick for losing Adam Humphries. So, the big thing is, you gotta watch how many free agents you actually sign, because that can take you out of the running there. But there are some rules, and this is why I think Crowell to Tampa makes even more sense. If a player is cut and you sign him, that does not count against the comp pick formula. So, Bilal Powell, who's an ex-Jet, who I've been bringing up on the show as a possible fit for a free agent running back, he would count towards that comp pick formula because he was already a free agent. Since Isaiah Crowell was cut, he does not count. So they can sign him, and still it wouldn't really affect their comp pick at all. So that's why I think it makes a lot of sense. Not really sure what number he's asking for. There's rumored to be several teams interested. Bucs are one of them. But there's also another player that several teams are interested in, and the Bucs are one of them. Do you want to share that, Rhett?
Give me your refresher. Is it oh God, is it Marcus Golden?
Yes, sir.
There we go. I'm paying attention.
Yeah. The Raiders, the Giants, the Bucs, and the Chiefs all have interest in defensive end, former Cardinals defensive end Marcus Golden. Had 12.5 sacks, actually, in 2016. But after that, battled through some injuries and never really fully recovered and got back to that form. Was with Bruce Arians, obviously, from 2015 to 2017. Was drafted by Bruce Arians. And he has an opportunity to go to a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar coaches. The Chiefs, not really, but in Tampa, he has Bruce Arians. A lot of people bring up Todd Bowles, but Todd Bowles actually never coached Golden. So in New York, he has James Bettcher, who's the Giants' defensive coordinator. He was the Cardinals' defensive coordinator when Golden was there. And, of course, as Bucs fans know pretty well, the Raiders have his old defensive line coach in Brenston Buckner. So there's 3 options for him there if he wants to go with familiarity. Not really sure what his preference is, not really sure what the money is, but the Bucs are still in the mix for Marcus Golden.
Definitely. Now, we've touched on what the Bucs might do, what they may do in this situation. Now, let's talk about some of the moves they have made, because the last episode, we were talking about everybody's upset that the Bucs haven't really done anything. We said before, and I brought it up at the beginning of the show, there weren't going to be fireworks. We're not going to be bringing anyone in like Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell, which, honestly, out of all the free agent signings this year, I think the one that surprised me the most was Odell Beckham to Cleveland, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about our guys. So a couple of the moves the Buccaneers made, first and foremost, they did cut Bucs defensive tackle Mitch Unrein, and that was just an unfortunate situation. Earlier in the season, we had talked about his injury. It was a concussion at first, right? And then he ended up just not playing the entire season. I think he got hurt during OTAs. Never got a chance to play in a Bucs uniform. I don't think he even played in a preseason game. So tough break there for him. Really, really upsetting to see, but the Bucs are able to cut him, and I believe save about $3.5 million on the cap space. Something else I wanted to touch on, not exactly a free agent acquisition, but some news regarding the cap space that is so detrimental now, I guess. Bo Allen takes a $1 million pay cut for his final year in Tampa, so we'll see how this goes for him. I'm fairly excited. I'm just excited that we have a team player like him on this team. It's a pretty classy move to take a pay cut. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a pay cut. Not everyone's going to want to do it, especially some of these guys who are as upset as they are about a restructure of their deal. But Bo Allen takes a $1 million pay cut, so he'll be a free agency after next year, correct?
Yes, that was part of the deal. That Allen had actually signed a 3-year, $15 million deal with the Bucs, and part of the deal was since Bo Allen is taking a $1 million pay cut, that he will, the contract is now up after next year and not the year after that. So this coming off season, Bo Allen will be a free agent.
Alrighty. Some other news, the Buccaneers re-signed backup quarterback Ryan Griffin to a 2-year deal. That's nice because I'll tell you what, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm fairly certain he's not going to be here next year. You're not going to find any better, cheaper help than Ryan Griffin at this point. He's a guy who's been with the team for a really long time. I think he deserves to stick around, and I'm glad he does so. I really enjoy watching him play in the preseason. Don't want to see him play in a regular season game just because of obvious reasons. But aside from that, he's a solid backup, and I'm glad he's sticking around. Some other moves the Buccaneers made. They signed former Arizona linebacker Deion Buchanan. Now, it's spelled Dion, but it's pronounced Dayon. So Deion Buchanan, he'll come in, play, I guess, a mixture of linebacker and safety, kind of a Mark Barron deal. And we also released punter Brian Anger, and a lot of people were upset with that move. The honest truth with it is that Brian Anger is he's getting a little bit older, and he's not the same punter he was in 2015, 2016. His play has declined in a way. We've seen a lot less of those exciting special teams plays where he pins it down inside the 5, someone tosses it back out of the end zone. Those are exciting, but we just don't see him that much anymore. So an understandable move there made by letting Brian Anger go. But the Bucs did sign his replacement, and that's former 49ers punter Bradley Pinion. Now, the interesting thing with Bradley Pinion is that he does both punts and kickoffs, so he is a kick specialist, if you will. And with that move, the Bucs also re-signed Cairo Santos. So, definitely not going to go the Matt Bryant route, it seems. I don't know if they still have time or the resources, or if they're even interested in doing that anymore.
I wouldn't say definitely, just saying.
Okay. So Cairo Santos re-signed, Bradley Pinion brought in. And now here's something that I'm really excited about. The Buccaneers are signing former Browns wide receiver Brashad Perryman to a 1-year deal. Brashad Perryman, a former first-round pick. I like this move. I think he's going to be an okay hump replacement, I guess. But it's just a low-risk move. It doesn't feel like you're putting a lot on the line like you were with a player of Deshaun Jackson's caliber. Brashad Perryman, I think he has the ability to shine under Bruce Arians and Jameis Winston and whatever they end up doing with this offense. But I'm excited about this move.
You know, this actually kind of surprised me. I'm not going to lie. I don't know. It just did. The timing of it, of course, after the Odell Beckham Jr. trade.
Oh yeah, like immediately, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's partly because Brashad Perryman had agreed to terms with the Browns on a 1 year, $4 million deal, or it might have been a 2 year. I'm not really 100% sure. It was either one or two, but that $4 million number is still the same. And then, like a few hours later, they ended up trading for Odell Beckham Jr. and there was a report that Brashad Perryman kind of wanted out of that deal. He had not officially signed it. It just he verbally agreed to terms. That's why you'll see now guys say signed. Before Wednesday,
Agreed to terms.
it's always agreed to terms because just like Anthony Barr with the Jets, Anthony Barr agreed to terms with the Jets. You're coming to me, Red, and you're saying I'm going to pay you for 25 shows. I'm going to pay you $100.
You're getting paid for this?
Oh boy. Um. Well, yeah, I'm hooked up to your bank account. You didn't know?
Oh, right.
um. So basically, and I say okay, and then I have a change of heart and sort of want to go on someone else's podcast for maybe a little more, a little less money. I can because it's not official yet. So that's what the agreed to terms thing basically means. So Drew Rosenhaus, Rashad Perryman's agent, was able to get out of the deal with Cleveland, and almost immediately they went to Tampa Bay. And Jenna Lane had reported that the Bucs were in on Perryman a little earlier in the day, and also Philip Dorsett went back to the Patriots on a 1 year deal, and the two teams that were also interested in him that he picked the Patriots over were the Giants and the Bucs. So that seems to tell me that maybe this coaching staff isn't as high on Justin Watson and Bobo Wilson as some fans are.
Definitely. Last piece of free agency news that I've got lined up, it involves your boy. Bucs re-signed Kevin Minter to a 1 year deal. Minter makes sense. He was former Arians guy in Arizona. He was fairly solid last year, and with Adarius Taylor signing a deal with Cleveland, makes me feel a little bit better about this Kevin Minter deal. I think he's a solid player, and I think he'll pick up where Taylor left off.
Yeah, I mean, that helps with the comp pick thing. So every free agent that signs with it, every Bucs unrestricted free agent that signs with another team, it'll help the Bucs comp pick chances because then they'll be able to sign more free agents if more of their own free agents sign deals. So when Ryan Fitzpatrick signs a deal, I'm fairly certain he'll get a backup job somewhere. When he signs a deal, that'll help. If Jacquizz Rodgers ends up signing somewhere, that'll help. If Brent Grimes ends up signing somewhere, that'll help. So that will all help the Bucs as far as comp picks go. So we'll see what happens, but I'm sure the Bucs are rooting for those three guys and some of their other ones to hopefully get jobs. I believe there's a deadline though for comp picks. Like I believe like sometime after the draft. Let's say like a team would sign Brent Grimes after the draft. I don't think it would affect comp picks. I think after the draft you can sign pretty much how many people you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Bucs are hoping within, the draft is actually 6 weeks from tonight. So the Bucs are hoping within those 6 weeks, and we can touch on the draft a little bit here because I have a little theory on what I think might happen on draft night. Within the next 6 weeks, the Bucs are hoping that those guys get jobs. That'll just help them out.
Oh yeah, definitely. You always want to see your guys go out and do great things, unless they are Deshaun Jackson.
Ooh. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I know I keep talking about this, and we really shouldn't, but
yeah, it's done. I mean, he said in Instagram Live, it's go time now, which pretty much implies wasn't go time in Tampa. So
yeah, really. So I had a little something I wanted to say for this episode. I wrote down a lot of thoughts. This was before free agency really picked up, but this is something I wanted to address to a lot of the people that you see who just complain. You had said it's your favorite time of the year right before free agency started because that's when everyone freaks out because the team doesn't make moves before free agency starts. You and I both knew the Bucs weren't going to blow the roof off of the place. I'm sure the people who listen to this show knew that the Bucs weren't going to blow the roof off of the place with free agent signings, but the misinformed, and I honestly just got to say, the Facebook fans, man, Facebook is a wasteland.
No, I thought the Bucs were favorites to sign Le'Veon Bell and
I don't know,
Antonio Brown, and they were going to get Landon Collins. And
I saw a post the other day. I'm not going to talk bad about the people who wanted Landon Collins because I wanted Landon Collins. I thought it was realistic when we talked about it way few weeks back. I thought we were going to get one decent splash free agent signing and then just get some help around it, but I wouldn't say we got one free agent signing that's bigger than any other. Maybe Brashad Perryman, but back to my point. You just see these posts and you see what's being said, man. I saw the other day, some guy was like, I'm willing to put money down and make an actual bet with real money, real life money. He's like, the Bucs are going to sign DK Metcalf. Watch. With Deshaun Jackson gone and Adam Humphries gone, we're going to get DK Metcalf with pick number 5.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, I'll put a month's rent down. I'll run you out of pocket, man. So I need to say something to those people. Let me explain something to everyone who's just said that they're done with this team. They say that it's been the same process for, a long time. It's the same old Bucs, yada, yada, yada. The Bucs haven't had a process in almost 20 years. The mid-90s to early 2000s was the last time the Bucs had a decent process. Our team has gone nowhere at all since 2008. I mean, we've had some good seasons, but they really weren't enough to write home about. Nothing got us in the playoffs. So I'm not sitting here defending our performance on the field. It's spoken for itself. Losing season after losing season. I'm sure you're just as tired of seeing it as I am. We've never even covered a winning season on this show. But one thing we need to understand is that the Bucs have been given multiple chances to start a new process. And that's kind of the key word I'm using here is process. Evan, you're a Philly fan. You trust the process, right?
Of course. Always got to.
You always got to trust the process. We've said that before on the show. But the Bucs are always given new chances to start that process over. And that starts with every head coach. We've had head coach after head coach, mediocre staff after mediocre staff, and we've always had players who found a way to shine. I mean, there are countless Bucs who have gone on to do bigger and better things outside of this football team. Once they left this team, that's when their talent was recognized. Guys like LeGarrette Blount, Aqib Talib, people we bring up on the show all the time. So it's not that the talent's not there. Right now, the Bucs have had the most talent these past few years than they have in a long time. And I sincerely believe that. But something else people need to realize is that this isn't Dirk Cutter's team anymore. When you're losing guys that have been on your team that you don't exactly want to lose, it sucks. It's a part of business. But right now, the Bucs are building a new team. We don't have Dirk Cutter in the building anymore. We don't have his terrible coaching staff running the place. No more Mike Smith, who literally turned us into the worst defense in NFL history. Like, I'm not even messing around. During that period of time where the Bucs gave up an average of 500 yards a game, I don't think anyone's ever done that, ever. No more Greg Warhoff is the offensive line coach. I mean, we've seen his terrible coaching skills numerous times on the field. Dumb offsides call, bullshit penalties where, we beat ourselves. And that's what makes a lot of people hate guys on the offensive line like Donovan Smith. I don't know if I agreed he should have gotten paid so soon. I would have preferred the franchise tag, but he's a good player when he's good. He's never missed a game. He's just sloppy. Offsides, holding when there doesn't need to be holding. We've seen it in and out, and that almost, to me, seems like it comes from poor coaching. There's no conflict or lack of trust between our head coach and our franchise quarterback anymore. We have Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles, and Byron Leftwich at their respective positions. They have a better track record than any of our staff from last year. I mean, give or take a few guys like, Todd Monken and what they were able to do with that offense. But right now, the Bucs have a chance to start a new process. They're building a new team, a new identity. The core is still there. So all I'm saying to the people who are jumping ship and getting sick of this team before the season even starts, let's watch this team play before we jump the gun and say anything about it being the same old Bucs. If they can't get it done on the field this year, then complain all you want. I'll complain with you. But right now, we have zero idea what this team is going to look like on the field. I feel like we need to give it a break. And I'll step down off of my soapbox now. But I'm just tired of hearing it.
Well, I mean, you can make some good points with, the Bucs not really having much of a process, and I don't know. Just to me, and I can't speak for all fans, but to me, it seems like fans are just, no matter what the Bucs do.
Oh, they can't win.
Yeah, the Bucs, there's nothing they can do. If the Bucs go out and sign Landon Collins, people would say, "Oh my God, you overpaid for this guy." If they don't sign him, "Oh, why didn't you sign him?" It's weird. I don't know. There's a few deals that I think the Buccaneers should have done. Okay, I do believe that they should have, based on the money that this man got. I do believe that they should have signed Tevin Coleman. He was one of my top free agent targets.
Well, Tevin Coleman and alongside him, Mark Ingram, he comparatively got a deal that the Bucs could have made happen.
Yeah, I mean, but looking at those contract numbers for Coleman, Coleman got, it's almost like a 1-year deal for like $3 million.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Like, I would have done that. Like, you're about to pay Isaiah Crowell that if he does indeed sign with Tampa. Like, it's maybe a little bit less, but pretty similar deal.
Now, do you think that has anything to do with the NFC South? Obviously, Tevin Coleman from Atlanta, Mark Ingram from the Saints.
No, see, the thing is, and I say they should have done the Tevin Coleman deal, but I don't know the whole story. Maybe the Bucs were in contact. It was reported that the Bucs weren't interested in Mark Ingram, but it was never reported that they weren't interested in Tevin Coleman. Now, it wasn't reported that they were, but maybe the Bucs did come out Coleman with an offer, and Coleman just chose to go with Kyle Shanahan, who is his old offensive coordinator, and he chose to go to San Francisco. Who knows? The guard from Arizona, Mike Iupati, right? He just signed a deal with the Seahawks today. He was a fit for possibly that veteran guard that they needed. Okay, well, he signed with the Seahawks, and now he's through 3/4 of the NFC West, and he said that he prefers to be on the West Coast. So he likely wasn't going to come to Tampa. He's been in San Francisco, and then was with Arizona, and now with Seattle. So, the players, at the end of the day, it's not 100% about money. Is it mostly? Yeah. But the players do get a choice. So, before you say, "Oh my God, the Bucs let that guy go for that," maybe Coleman just chose San Francisco over Tampa.
It's all about those Benjamins.
That's what I'm saying. It's not, though. I'm saying that there's other factors.
Oh yeah. Well, I believe that, but let's be real here. At least a lot of the moves that the Bucs leaving made, it's all about chasing that dollar. And there's guys who I agree with. I'm happy to see a guy like Adam Humphries cash out. An undrafted free agent. He did that on his own. He showed his talent on the field, and he's cashing out. But, yeah, I don't know. Just some other guys,
Well, I mean, Adam Humphries was really unexpected, right? Undrafted free agent, like you said. Really unexpected. Quan Alexander was a 4th-round pick, and while 4th-round picks can be good, I don't think many fourth-round picks are going to be making $13.5 million this season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, the way you can look at it, and this is probably the last thing I'm ever going to say about Quan Alexander or Adam Humphries unless they return to Tampa or
come on the show.
or when the Bucs play the Titans in Tennessee this season. They'll play Adam Humphries, and they will play Quan Alexander in Tampa versus the 49ers. So
that'll be interesting.
Those two guys, the Bucs, here's the positive way to look at it. The Bucs got 4 good years out of good players and are likely to get draft picks in exchange for them. They got 4 good years at an affordable price for solid football players, and they're likely to get a draft pick for them. That's the positive thing that you can take away from it. So
yeah,
that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, that's pretty much going to cover for free agency, right? I mean, they re-signed Santos. We pretty much covered everything.
I mean, they've got some room maybe to sign 1 or 2 more guys.
Well, they also have some cuts, maybe. Evan Smith might get cut. That could save like $2 million. Will Golson could still get cut. That would save like $3.75 million. I keep being told that Joe McCoy and Cameron Braid aren't likely to go anywhere. So, and I don't know if a restructure is in the plans. Scott Reynolds' Pewter Report had brought up an interesting thing, possibly restructuring Mike Evans' contract. It wasn't really a rumor; it's just something that the Bucs could do, and they could do that and end up saving $8 million this season. So, I would definitely look into that. Mike still gets his money; it's just in a different form. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, by the time you guys are listening to this Friday night, and the Bucs might have signed Marcus Golden and Isaiah Correll and somebody we don't even know about. So, this could be all out of date, or things could still be the same. You don't know.
I think that's the beauty of the NFL is that we had recorded a whole hour-long show about a week ago, and then we had to reschedule it because within that same day, everything we had talked about had transpired. We talked about Quan Alexander. We talked about guys like Earl Thomas, Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, it was okay when like Quan Alexander and Adam Humphries signed. We're like, okay, so we can just basically say because we had done like a re-signing section, a free agent section.
Oh yeah, we did a free agency battle plan.
Yeah, I had a whole plan or whatever, but and then once Quan and Adam signed, we were like, okay, well we're gonna just basically say just tune that one out pretty much, like skip over that, and then Colin signed, then Matthew signed. Everyone else signed. We're like, okay, there's no sense. So This is why you guys, and this is the 50th episode, right? This is the good episode, right? It should be a positive episode. So we want to give you guys a decent 50th episode. So do we got anything free agency wise, or do you want me to get into my quick little draft theory here?
We could probably transition into the draft. I think we've covered all of our bases in free agency. Like you said, some moves could be made by the time this comes out and people are watching it. But if there are any moves made, it'll be 1 or 2 signings that we may have brought up here. I'd say the good chunk of Buccaneers free agency, those moves have already been made, so we just have to wait and see how this plays out over the next few days.
Yeah, of course. And, so here's my theory, and this is based on what each team in the top 5 has done in free agency, and obviously they can be playing a poker face, but I have a strange feeling. Now I tweeted out like a few weeks ago, I believe it was last weekend, I said I have a strange feeling Deshaun Jackson is going to get traded. He was traded. Now a few days ago I had tweeted I have a strange feeling that Quinnen Williams will be a Buccaneer, and Quinnen Williams is the defensive lineman from Alabama. Many regard him as maybe the top prospect in the draft, if not the top, probably number 2 on most boards. I know he's number 2 on my board, right behind Bosa, but And a lot of people are probably listening to this saying, well, if he's the number 2, they're sitting at 5, they're not going to get him. Well, here's what would have to happen. And honestly, you guys are listening to this. Tell me one of these moves that it can't happen. All right. So if you can sit there and tell me, oh, that won't happen, and for this and this, okay. But I don't think that many people can say, oh yeah, there's no way that can happen, because it can. So number one, Kyler Murray goes to the Cardinals. Okay. Obviously, that takes Bosa and Quinnen Williams off for them. So Bosa is still available. The 49ers, while they acquired D Ford, still need an edge rush. So they get the best player in the draft in Nick Bosa. The Jets had their pass rusher in Anthony Barr, but Anthony Barr decided to re-sign with the Minnesota Vikings. So now
pulled a Josh McDaniels on him.
Yeah, well, McDaniels was worse, because McDaniels was like hours away from signing that contract. Like, that was bad. His staff was already there and everything in Indy. Like, that was bad. So, anyways, the Jets are now left with a need for pass rush. They could take Kentucky outside linebacker / defensive end Josh Allen, the pass rusher. Grab him. The Raiders. And everybody would say, well, okay, well, then the Raiders are just going to pick him. Well, the big thing, I believe, is what the Raiders have done in free agency is, yes, they've attacked the defense, they've attacked the offense. Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, LaMarcus Joyner, Trent Brown. They re-signed Jonathan Hankins, and he was their defensive tackle last season. He played pretty well. They drafted Maurice Hurst last year, and he's been playing really well for him. Many people regard him as a top 20 player in the class, but he fell last year due to health concerns. And in the second round last year, they picked P.J. Hall, who's a defensive tackle. So, I believe it could be a little bit crowded at defensive tackle, and I don't think the Raiders would be open to taking Quinnen Williams if they were to play him at defensive tackle. That's the big thing. How do the Raiders view Quinnen Williams? If they view him as a guy that could possibly rush from the outside, maybe you can put him inside a few plays, then I think he would be the pick. But if they feel like this guy is a pure defensive tackle in a 4-3, which is, I mean, they run that a lot of time, then I believe that they will pass on him. And they've added positions on defense this whole free agency. What is the one position they haven't really added much? It's a linebacker. I believe that the Raiders will take Devin White at number 4, which will leave the Bucs with an easy decision to draft Quinnen Williams and for him to become the centerpiece on the Buccaneers' defensive line. How does this sound for a front 3 and a 3-4? Vita Vea as your nose tackle, Gerald McCoy as one interior D lineman, and Quinnen Williams as the other, with Jason Pierre-Paul and Carl Nassib as the outside linebackers. Well, there's a but. There is a but.
There is a but. There's always a but.
But if Quinnen Williams does become a Buccaneer, I don't have a source on this or anything, but it's just a gut feeling. At some point during the draft, Gerald McCoy will be traded for more draft picks. I have a feeling that if Quinnen Williams is the pick, Gerald McCoy will be traded for more draft picks. I feel like the reason they are not looking to get rid of McCoy now is because there's not really much better options out there at defensive tackle / interior D-line that they could replace him with. I feel like if they got Quinnen Williams, they would feel like they can free up that money and get more draft picks in the process.
Now, what do you feel like? What do you feel like that value for McCoy would bring in? I mean, are we talking 3rd and 4th rounders? Are we talking maybe a 2nd rounder?
I think the Bucs could throw it like McCoy and
a package deal.
Yeah, like McCoy and a 5th for like a 3rd, something like that. Maybe probably Gerald McCoy and the 6th for a late 3rd, maybe something like that. I think that could probably work. Um, but we'll see. Um,
We just got to get Jason Light in business with the Bills again. They'll take any deal we give them, right?
um, well, the Bucs almost traded Deshaun Jackson to the Bills, but the Bills, man, they can't get any wide receivers to go there because
Dude,
Deshaun Jackson said he wouldn't sign there. So, um,
that's gotta suck being shut down by Antonio Brown and Deshaun Jackson.
yeah. Well,
What does
and
that
anyways,
say? What does that say about Josh Allen?
he's not good anyway, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
he's really tall though.
Oh yeah, he looks good in shorts. Man.
He's really tall. He looks good in shorts.
Rocket arm. I mean, huge hands. This guy's got it all. Anyways, the one last thing I will say is, if the Buccaneers, this is the reason I think the Buccaneers would trade Gerald McCoy if they got Quinnen Williams. If the Buccaneers draft Quinnen Williams, Gerald McCoy is only going to be, and they keep Gerald McCoy, he's only going to be on this team for 1 year. They're not going to keep him. They are not, unless he has a career year next year in 2019 with Quinnen Williams still there. They're not going to keep Gerald McCoy at $13 million. They're just not. They might keep him this year, but they are not going to keep him next year.
Now, here's something that I want to believe, and almost in counter to your theory here. There's something telling me I really want Kyler Murray to be a Raider. And I know that pick number 4 is a bit risky if you're looking to draft a guy like Kyler Murray. Of course, we've heard the rumors about Arizona. I'll be honest, I think Arizona shopping Sam Rosen is a huge smokescreen. I don't think he's going anywhere. I've got a strong feeling that he ends up being in Oakland. I don't know, man. I just don't want to believe that. I really don't.
I think Josh Rosen, I think he's gone, man. I think it's either going to be Washington or New York. I do. I think
I want to say Washington.
I think Washington being the more likely one. I think when it's all said and done, I think the Giants are going to end up with Haskins. So,
oh man,
I
didn't
think,
sign OBJ to trade him.
Oh well, you trade everybody on the team except your 38-year-old quarterback. Which, while he is likely a Hall of Famer, you gotta
let it go.
Man. You got to
you gotta let it go.
I don't understand. I really don't. People complaining about the Bucs keeping Gerald McCoy. Look at the Giants, okay? Just look at that situation with Eli Manning. It's not good, okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that was just my little theory. Right now, my top 7 would probably go 1 Murray, 2 Bosa, 3 Allen, 4 White, 5 Williams, Quinnen Williams, that is. 6 Dwayne Haskins, and 7 probably DK Metcalf. So going to Jacksonville. But yeah, I mean, I could see. I don't know. I could see. I mean, I do believe. I tweeted this out, and this is probably the last thing I'm going to say, and then we can wrap this thing up. I truly do believe that when round 1 is over, either Devin White, Josh Allen, or Quinnen Williams is going to be a Buccaneer. I
think Devin White's our guy.
I'm
sold on it.
Well, I'm just saying, I do believe that one of those 3 is going to be a Buck. However, if I had to choose one of them, I would choose Quinnen Williams because he's the best player to me.
Yeah.
Out of the 3. So if Devin White and Quinnen Williams are there, the Bucs are likely picking Quinnen Williams. I really don't know how they feel about Josh Allen, but if Josh Allen is there, that means that Quinnen Williams and Devin White likely aren't. So I feel like he'd be the pick almost by default. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, 6 weeks away from the draft tonight. 6 weeks from tonight, we got the first round. Gonna be exciting. You're gonna hear a lot of rumors coming up as free agency, within the next week and a half, 2 weeks or so starts to die down. You're gonna hear a lot of rumors. Bucs could be interested in Greedy Williams. Bucs could be interested in Christian Wilkins, Clelin Ferrell. You're going to hear a lot of smoke screens. Some are true. Pewter Report was on the Vita Vea thing from the start, pretty much. They did have Derwin James to the Bucs in their last mock, but early January, February, they had Vita Vea. They were saying how the Bucs loved Vea, and even Roy Cummings had said on draft night. I remember the tweet. He said, um, the Bucs had traded down from number 7 to 12, and it looks like they're either going to choose between Derwin James and Vita Vea. And I was like, man, like pretty much James, right? And then
Yeah.
it ended up being Vea. So yeah, some of them are true, but you got to wait until you get really close to draft time for that. Like any rumor you hear about the draft now is probably 90% some other team trying to get interest, up for someone else.
Yeah. So we just got to wait and see. It's an exciting time. Of course, like you said, the draft 6 weeks from tonight. And then, of course, free agency going to play out and finish up over the next few days. So we have got some time, but Bucs fans, just be patient. Let's wait it out. Let's see what this team does on the field before we jump ship. Anyways, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. 50 episodes, whether it's on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or Podbean. We appreciate you being there with us every step of the way. We are coming up on our 3rd season of covering the Bucs, and it's been a fantastic ride up until this point. So here is to the next 50 episodes. You can follow the show on Instagram at Cannon Fire Podcast. You can follow my co-host Evan at Bucs Way, formerly Bucs Football, on Instagram and Twitter. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Cannon Fire Pod. Make sure you check out our partners at pewterreport.com for some of the best Bucs coverage in the game. I am Rhett, signing off for Evan, and until next time, we'll see you then. Go Bucs!